Well, we are live to the world, so welcome everyone. Welcome to our event today. So we wanted to get into the Thanksgiving spirit, so we decided to schedule some office hours with you all. And today we have Lewis with us. Lewis, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm Lewis. I'm a product support specialist here at Bubble, and I'm going to be walking through a Thanksgiving themed app for you all today.
Awesome. So we wait for people to trickle in. It's just noon right now, sharp. I wanted to ask everyone where are you tuning in from. So if you want to drop that in the chat, I'll ask the question as well and see what we get in the chat. Pretty excited actually. Having Thanksgiving tomorrow, day of rest in the middle of the week. Don't have big plans, but always nice. Lewis, are you having like a big dinner and stuff?
Um, I'm actually just going to have a Friendsgiving. I think we might go to Chinatown and have some good food there.
A
Um,
Friendsgiving.
mhm.
Okay. I don't think I've done one of those since college, probably, when I was too far from anyone to do anything else. So that's cool. I actually was talking to somebody here at Bubble the other day, and they said that they really recommend smoked turkey.
Ooh, that sounds
And
really good.
it sounds really good, but I feel like you need some equipment, right? Like to smoke a whole turkey, you can't just do that in your apartment's kitchen. You know what
Yeah, you're definitely gonna set off your smoke alarm.
I mean?
Have you seen like the deep fried turkey where some people just submerge a whole frozen turkey into just like a tub of oil?
Yeah, isn't that? I mean, there's always all these memes around this time of the year where people are like exploding vats and like all the water kind of evaporates instantly and stuff, right? Like it's just, yeah, it's pretty fun. I see here some people in the chat saying, okay, tuning in from the USA, Nigeria, Chinatown, Friendsgiving sounds fun. There you go. You got your first plus one. Upstate New York, nice. Seattle. Hey, Seattle. Hello, hello, everyone. Yeah, then let's just get going. We are a couple of minutes into the live stream, everyone, just to remind you. So, we're going to be doing a live stream, building an app. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Feel free to ask anything you want. Lewis is going to be building an app along the way, but if you have any questions, happy to answer them, me as well. And we'll also be dropping some polls, questions, and stuff in the chat to interact with all of you. So, let's get building, Lewis.
Yep, sure. So if you didn't read the description, what we're gonna be making today is like a would you rather game. So if you're not too familiar, here's an example. Like, would you rather is just like a game where you're given two options and you just kind of pick your preference and um, see what the popular vote was. So, in this example, this one's kind of like a scenario one. So, have the power to stop time but age twice as fast, or never age but be stuck in a single moment forever. Um, I don't want to be stuck in a single moment, so maybe I prefer this left side. And then you can kind of see what the population statistics are between them. So our final product is going to look kind of similar to that, just in the form of Thanksgiving foods. Um, that's our Thanksgiving theme around it. I know that not everyone's tuning in from the US, so uh, we're also going to try and introduce some foods all around the world to match up against. But between stuffing and mashed potatoes, I'm a big fan of mashed potatoes, so I'm gonna go with that one. And it looks like it's the popular vote. Go mashed potatoes. Okay. Hopefully that gives an idea of what we're making today.
You can't go wrong with potatoes.
You can't. There's so many different ways to make them too. Uh, all right, so I just started up a blank app here, and I have this little sticky note at the top right, just in case you're tuning in just now. Um, just a little checklist of the things that we want to try and complete today. Um, so yeah, our minimum viable product for this is to match up foods against each other, reveal those pick percentages, and pick another random matchup of foods. So I always like to start off by thinking about what data types we need for this game. So what immediately comes to mind is we need a food, uh, and then we want to match up these foods against each other. So I think that's two immediate data types that we can try and flesh out together. So I'm going to create a new type here. I'm going to call it food. And some fields that we want to put in this food is what will help us describe this food uh, in the game. So we'll probably need a name. That's pretty baseline. Um, I think I also listed some of the ingredients about the food. Um, and this field's kind of interesting. I'm gonna set this as a list so that we can display our list of ingredients in like a bulleted form. And I think that's all we need right now for the food data type. And what we'll need next is that would you rather. So a would you rather is kind of like that matchup. So it's going to reference two specific foods, but we want it to be its sort of own data type because each matchup is unique. So I'm just going to acronym this to would you rather. And some specific things that we need to keep track of in that specific matchup. Well, we have two foods that we need to go against each other. So why don't I just call them food A, and I will set that to that food data type that we just created. And then we'll need a food B. Neat. And then for that reveal pick percentages, we're gonna need the total votes on each side. So I think I'm gonna create two more fields as well. We'll call this like food A votes. And this is just gonna be a number. So that every time some users playing this specific matchup, if they click on food A, it'll just tick this number up. If they click food B, it'll tick this other number up. And yeah, so to calculate percentages, all we just need to do is take the votes of one number or one food and divide it by the total number of votes in this would you rather. So
It's interesting because I've seen a lot of bubble builders go with the data first instead of the UI first. But the UI feels more intuitive. Like if you're thinking about the user actions, like, okay, there's a foot to the right, one to the left, you click. So I feel like it's pretty typical for bubble developers to think about the data first, like setting up your data tab. Is that
Yeah.
how you usually build apps too?
I like to start off with my data just so like I have like a mental map of how everything's sort of connected. And then the UI should, I guess, follow suit. I guess there's no right way to do it. I think some people could be like visual builders first and then kind of fill in the blanks with what do I want to present on the screen. And then build their data types from there. But no wrong way to do it. I just prefer to start off with my data first.
Nice.
So yeah, we can add a new field here. And this could be the total votes. Now this, we come across like our first design decision of do we want to store like what the total votes are for this would you rather? Now the trade-offs between them is we can just immediately pull that number and use it in our dynamic expression. or we can just add these two numbers together in our dynamic expression as well. So I think we're just going to keep our data as simple as possible. So we'll just leave it at that. And if there's any fields that I'm missing or you think that we might need in the future, feel free to drop that in the chat. Okay, that's enough about the data. Let's get something on the screen. So now I'm imagining that would you rather, right? It kind of looks like one row of like just two squares. So let's just try and get that onto our screen. So I'm going to change my container layout to maybe just a column first. I'll put this, I'll leave that like so. And then I'm just going to have two groups here inside this one. Come on now. Nope.
You know,
I know,
it's
it's
funny
always a
because
little tricky.
that's another kind of like a specialty of bubble developers. I've seen, like, technically when you see an editor, you're thinking of dragging the element into the canvas, but so many developers drop it into the elements tree because you're already thinking kind of like you understand what responsive design is. Like you were talking about, oh, it's going to be a row with two squares. Like somebody is totally new by not even imagine a website has rows or columns. But because you do, you are like, okay, I'm not going to drop it into the canvas. I'm going to drop it inside my group A because I know what that's going to look like, right? It's like a different way of thinking.
Yeah, I always think it's a bit easier to just I know what the parent like child relationships I want. But I think specifically I can't really see anything on the screen yet, so it was just going to be easier to put them underneath in the elements tree. Okay. I want to try and center this. So actually, let me just give these little guys some color first. So I have some palettes that I want y'all to help me pick. I got 3 here, and I'm curious to know which one should we rock with. We got a little pastels Thanksgiving palette here. We got more of like a more orangish red focused palette here. And then this one is kind of a mix of both. Which one do y'all like to use for this?
That's a good question for the chat. I don't know. I think I would. I don't know. Out of all these options, can you show me option 2? That's 2.
I like the pastels.
That's pretty classy for Thanksgiving, I think.
Pretty classy.
I don't know about the greens. The last 3 colors for sure. I don't know if I see a lot of greens on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Well, we can just rock with these colors for now. And we can find we can mix and match some other greens. Okay. But what I want to do first is just add some color to our screen because it's looking pretty bare. So I'll make it a gradient to make it look a little bit more interesting than a flat screen. Oops. Neato. Okay. All right. And then what I'm going to do is, do I want to work on the sizing here first? Yeah, why not? So in this layout, you can kind of see the shape of the group right now, but I pretty much just want this to take up the entire screen. So I'm just going to tell it to not make it fixed width. And I just want its min height to be the entire screen. So I'm going to switch it to just 100%, just like that.
Nice.
And then the groups, you can kind of see they're still stuck up there. So I'm going to go ahead and center these guys and just make them a little bigger. So height-wise, at least. So maybe I'll just set this to like 400 for now.
Oh, you lost the other one.
Yeah. Okay. So if you look at the borders, it's looking not bad.
Yeah, it's looking pretty clean.
Okay. So let's get some text now. So each of these groups represents one of our foods, right? So if I go back to this reference, we have these two squares, but we need to put a food data type to each of them. Now, where are those foods coming from? I'll get back to that in a second. But it should be coming from that would you rather data type that we created. Now, our game needs to keep track of what is the current matchup on the screen. And a good way to track that information is to use something like a state. Now, a state is kind of just like a variable that you can change over time. And so just like how we want to change our matchup over time in the game, this would be a perfect use case for it. So actually, before I create this state, I want to be able to kind of pick a random would you rather and show it to the user. Now, if we grab all of these would you rathers at once, let's say that we have like 1 billion of these things. We're pulling in 1 billion things and we just want to pick one random thing. Now, that is a bunch of data coming in that we don't need all at once. So one way that we can kind of optimize this is to use something like a satellite data type. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's pretty much just like a lighter weight version of a data type. And when you need that specific data type, you can make a very specific search for it. So if I make like a would you rather satellite type, it's just going to contain one thing, which is the ID of the would you rather it's referring to. So every would you rather satellite thing is going to be connected to a would you rather. So it's not going to contain all of this until we actually make the search for it with this ID here.
Interesting.
So what we'll actually do is we'll go back to selecting this state, setting it to that satellite type that we created. And yeah, I'm going to go into this workflow tab now and get started on our first workflow. So the first one that I'm going to work on is what do we want to happen when the page is loaded? Well, the first thing that we want is to pick that current would you rather. Like, what's the first would you rather to start with? So I'm going to set that state. That's on our index element. And it's going to be a search for all of the satellites. And then just picking a random one. Now, you could take it one step further and make another state that just contains a list of all of the would you rathers. And then you can have a second state that just picks a random one. But remember, since our satellite is so small, it shouldn't be too expensive to make this search. So yeah, we've set our would you rather. So let's add a specific food now, so we can get some data to test with. So what food should we add? Doesn't have to be Thanksgiving related.
Rice.
Rice.
I feel like that's the most basic food ever.
Yeah, sure.
White rice.
White rice.
Ingredients: rice.
White rice. I'll try and get a nice high quality photo.
By the way, this is for testing only. If you're going to use images, make sure that you have the copyrights for it. For everyone watching this, you're going to use images in your app.
Right. Actually, here, let's see. We can go to a copyright-free site. Oh, none of these look too appetizing, and they're all uncooked. Okay, sure. I like this one. And I will download that. Okay, neat. I'll leave this up here. Okay, new entry. The ingredients for cooked white rice, I guess it's just white rice. I guess that's a bit redundant if we already have a name for it, but I do see one thing we are missing for this data type, which is an image. So let me go ahead and add that real quick. Okay. So I'll go back here, add a new entry. Water and salt. I suppose you're right.
And love.
And love. Yeah, we'll put, you got to make every dish with love. That's the secret ingredient. So white rice, salt, if I could type, and love. Okay, sweet. And then maybe just one more so that we can get that initial matchup. Has love as a yes or no Boolean.
I mean, if you want to gamify this, I guess you could have like a role with like more love. It's a higher chance of success. Like maybe the images are not 50-50, but like if he has love, he shares a bigger part of the screen, like a 70-30.
That could be fun.
Like a visualized way. I started a poll on the chat to see if people, I asked them, what should the second food option be? And between mashed potatoes and pumpkin pie, right now, pumpkin pie is winning.
Okay, pumpkin pie.
For the moment. Pumpkin pie is winning, so we can go with that.
Sure. Pumpkin pie. Do we have an actual photo of pumpkin pie? Oh, gotta say pie. Oh, I like this one. Okay. Pumpkin pie. Now, what goes in pumpkin pie? Is anyone familiar? Like pie crust, pumpkins, of course. Maybe some cinnamon, nutmeg.
Can you just look up like a? I can just look up a recipe for pumpkin. Like, can you just like
Mashed
Google it
pumpkin.
up? Like, recipe pumpkin pie.
We
Let's see.
didn't have to make it too specific.
It's actually kind of crazy that so many people are looking for the recipe right now that I started typing recipe of at Google and it autofilled pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie, yeah. Pumpkin pie is a fan favorite.
Like Google just knew. Let's see. What are the typical ingredients of a pumpkin pie? Scroll all the way to the bottom, as always. These recipes: pie crust, sugar, cinnamon, ginger, eggs, milk. I feel like some of those ingredients should probably be in there.
Eggs and milk. Okay, I'll put those in.
Yeah, I feel like eggs and milk is probably pretty basic.
All right, neat. So just real quick, I'm going to change the food's display field to just its name, just so I don't have to guess what its unique ID is. The reason being, I'm going to be making a would you rather for the specific matchup of pumpkin pie and cooked white rice. So we'll just set the initial values to 0. And actually, to just save time, I will set the default numbers for these to be 0. Sweet. One more thing. Remember that every would you rather needs to have a connected would you rather satellite thing. So this is where the connection is made between the two. I'm going to take the unique ID of the would you rather, create a new would you rather satellite, and set that would you rather ID field to the ID of the would you rather. Sweet.
It turns out pumpkin pie ended up winning the poll, so we're good.
Oh yeah, pumpkin
would have been
pie,
awkward
so
if you like flipped midway while you're already building one.
it's okay.
So I think, could you quickly explain? I feel like you're doing some tricks here on the data side because you are kind of like anticipating roadblocks that maybe a beginner user wouldn't have. Like, for example, breaking up would you rather, like foods, would you rather, and would you rather satellites. Like those three, you're breaking it up into pieces because you're kind of like already thinking in modular ways. So like, oh, once I'm trying to display a food, I'm going to need this, so I should create that scaffolding. Like, did you think of this on like a piece of paper or something? Like, do you just kind of like mentally map it all out and just start writing it? Like, because it feels like, yeah, like you're kind of like thinking ahead here a few steps.
Yeah. I think when you're kind of thinking of a game, it's easy to imagine what are the moving parts in it. So when I first thought about that would you rather data type, I immediately knew that this was something that was going to be repeatedly showing up in this game, and it's going to be different every time. So I think that called for its own data type within the app. And then within that would you rather, that matchup, there's smaller things that we can associate with that would you rather, which were the foods. So you could um, have like all of the ingredients, the images, and the names for each food in your would you rather. Um, but I think it's much more easier to group all the similar things together, such as like one specific food, and give it its own data type, and then you can reference that data type. So instead of having like pumpkin pie, the ingredients and the image all in the would you rather, let's just bundle that up and make it its own data type so that we can just reference the food pumpkin pie in the would you rather instead. So
I mean,
it
so it sounds like in a way you're kind of like anticipating how difficult the dynamic expressions are going to be. Like you're like technically you could get away with less data types, but then your dynamic expressions will get like super complicated, like trying to really pick what you need instead of just having that's it sounds to me like you're trying to simplify here things for the expressions later.
oh yeah, for sure. If you had everything in like one single data type, you're going to be flipping back and forth between the data tab and your expression, just trying to remember like what is in this data type. So um, I think it's helpful to kind of modularize, use different data types, um, just to abstract away specific things about
Yeah, I mean,
an
I know that
object.
you mentioned before that, for example, having would you rather IDs separate, it just saves you on not having to retrieve all that data to search for something. But I
Hmm.
would imagine technically there should be a way for you to search just the IDs without having to retrieve all the data. But maybe that complicates things that you had to do what like backend workflows for that.
Yeah. So that would you rather satellite, um, I'll kind of start going through it right now, but the idea with the satellite is this search is going to grab all of the would you rathers. So let's imagine we didn't have the satellite. It's going to grab all the would you rathers, and the would you rathers contains the food and the votes. So that's like four columns of data. Whereas if we just use the satellite, that's one column of data. Now, if we scale up the number of would you rathers to like, I don't know, like the millions,
Hmm.
those four columns of data also magnifies by like the millions. So
Right. What I was saying is you should be able to also build that as in the back end and then serve it to the front end of your app, like between the client and the if you're starting to think between the client and the server
mhm,
side. So right now you're doing this to avoid having to retrieve everything because you are basically working with it on the front on your client, right? On the front side. You're trying to avoid having to retrieve all the data at once
right,
to search through
right.
it. But there are ways to do these logic of like searching through and like randomize which ones you serve to the front of your app, right? It's just more complicated.
Yeah. So if you weren't really worried about having a lot of things, you could just replace this. You could just omit the satellite entirely and just search for your would you rather's and get the random one.
Hmm.
That also works as well. I just wanted to show off this
Yeah,
satellite.
no, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool
If
trick.
it's something that you might need to consider, if you have a lot of things that you need to search for, um, you could definitely consider using satellites and then pulling the data when you need it.
Nice.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm going to go a bit quicker now. So I'm going to create this custom event, which is just going to select that would you rather. Um, so after the page is loaded, I'm going to trigger that custom event that we just created. Now, in this custom event, we first need to set the would you rather, um, the actual would you rather, since we have it as a satellite right now. So I'm going to first off make a second state that contains the actual would you rather. And set that here. So now I'm going to be searching for a would you rather now. And the constraint is its unique ID is the page's current would you rather. Oh, would you rather ID. Just like that. First item, census search returns a list. Okay. Now that we have like the would you rather, I'm going to tell our food groups now. I'll call this guy A and this one B, just for clarity. So group food A's, actually, I'll update group A's. Group A's is going to be that would you rather, and its data source is going to be indexes would you rather. Now, you kind of see this pattern a lot where if you need to like send info down your tree, you start at the top and then you slowly introduce the data source from the parent. So if I want each of these groups to be the food, I'm going to grab the parents would you rather and then grab the food A field. And then oppositely with food group B, I'm going to grab them. Okay. So I'm sure you're noticing that these two things look the exact same. And a question you might have is why don't we use like a reusable element? You could. The reason why I decided to omit that is because when you're inside the reusable element can't talk back to the page it's on. It only works sort of one way. The index, things that happen on the index page can tell the reusable element to do something, but the reusable element can't tell the index page to do something unless you, I guess, use states, but that kind of just complicates things.
Okay. So no reusables. It's okay anyways, right? The UI is only 2 images anyways. Like
exactly. Like
where
1 and 2 is a coincidence. Yeah. 3 makes a pattern, but since we don't have 3, I think we can skip the reusable element. Okay, so I'm going to add that image. So the image here is going to be that image attached to the food data type. I'm going to need a name for it too. So actually, I think what I did, instead of an image, I put a group in here. So I'll just call this the food item. And I set its background style to the parent group's foods image. Just like that. Now, the reason I'm doing this is just so the text is kind of like in front of the image instead of like side by side or above and below. So yeah, I'm gonna put a text image in there now. Here you are. And this is just going to be the parent group's foods name. We can style it. Maybe I'll just make it white for now. And let's have this guy centered. And I also want this group to expand to its parents' width and height. So I'm just going to set these to 100%. Oh, does this not have a food? Okay. So this is kind of the trickle down effect that I was talking about. So we're grabbing the food from the would you rather, and now this group food item needs to grab its parents group's food. So now,
Inheritance, right?
right. And I'm just going to ignore group food B because we mentioned before that these are like the exact same, except everything just switches to B. So I'm just going to work in one for now, and then we can copy it over in a moment. So yeah, I think since we've set the would you rather, I believe the image should show now, at least one. Hey, pumpkin pie. There we go. The sizing's a little bit, leaves something to be desired, but we can fix that in just a moment. Notice how it's kind of hard to read this. So I think one trick that I think is pretty cool is how do we like improve that visibility if we have it over an image? What really helps is adding like a text outline. And one kind of trick you can do that is by showing the text shadow. I actually found this on the Bubble forum, but it's adding a shadow, setting the offsets to 0, and then adding a blur radius. Changing this to black. So now you can kind of see it's much more legible now that you see like the outline of all the letters.
Oh, it's kind of like what they do for memes, like the lettering inside memes. Yeah, you just have
Yeah,
like a
pretty
black
much.
outline basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'll make this just a little bit bigger. Okay. Why don't I copy this over now? So everything should be the exact same. I'm going to change some of these things. Food B. And I think everything else should be okay. Neat. Okay. So we have our two foods matched up. Now we actually want to interact with these things. So when I click on one of these groups, I want those percentages to be revealed. So I think what I'll do is create a new custom event. We'll call it reveal scores.
Nice. Naming conventions.
Yeah, it's always good to just have everything named what it is or what it does. You don't have to get too fancy with it. Okay, so what do I want to do when I reveal the scores? Well, I think what I'm going to need is a text element. I'll put it right underneath. I will center and then update its styling. Now, I think what would have been nice would be creating a style for this, but I don't think we'll have time for that. But that's okay. So in order to reveal the percentage, I think what we actually need to do is we need a variable for this. Um, so what we'll do is create a state for our text, and maybe we'll just call it percentage. And this is just a number. It's going to show this variable. Where's you at? Oh, it's just called text. Text sees percentage. That should be fun. Okay. So now we can reference that in our reveal scores custom event. So I want to set a state. In text C, it's percentage. And then this is where some math is involved. One quick thing, if you don't know, we have the option to show parentheses in dynamic expressions. This is just going to help because we're doing some calculations. So it'll be nice to see where those parentheses lie to make sure that we're following orders of operations correctly.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll want to do is grab the current pages, would you rathers, food A votes, and add that to this page's would you rathers, food B votes. Oh,
and I see that you have parentheses turned on. Very nice.
Yeah. Reason being is because since we omitted storing the total votes, we're going to need to calculate that here. So
yeah, just a heads up for anyone watching. You can go to settings and turn on parentheses at the bottom if you're building expressions. Very useful.
Divided by, and then this page is food B plus food A votes. Right. So now I know this is working as I expected it to because the food A votes and food B votes are being added together before being divided. If that wasn't in place, we wouldn't get the right percentage. But that's not it. Can I keep going? Okay. So after we do that division, that gives us that decimal. So we'll want to multiply. Oh, actually, outside of the parentheses. Multiply by 100. And then lastly, format it as a decimal. Why is it tripping over that? Let me see what the issue checker is saying. Value should be a number right now, but it is a text. Oh, okay. Maybe I just get rid of this then. Neat. Okay. Luckily, we don't have to do this again. We'll do the same thing just for the other percentage.
Do you ever like sketch out a map for things like this? Like, do you open like, I don't know, Scally Draw or something and just try to draw like literally a map of the decisions?
Um, are you talking about the UI or the
No, just for
data?
all this logic. Like, I feel like you're holding a lot in your head right now. Like, okay, if this happens, then this, and it goes here, it goes there. Like, I wonder if it'll get easier if you kind of like sketch that out.
Yeah, I think it does help to sketch it out. Um, maybe it's just become second nature in my head.
Nice.
Um,
So you never open like Figma Jam or something, just like start drawing lines and go like, user clicks here, fetch data from here. This workflow does this, this, and this step.
yeah, I think what would help me is just slow down and then maybe add something in the notes here to explain what is actually going on. Um, but yeah, I guess I do keep a lot of stuff in my head. A lot of stuff in my head,
A lot of
but
context, yeah.
um,
It just feels dangerous to me because imagine that you get distracted, like you have to go for lunch. So all this context just vanishes, right? And then you sit down at your desk again and it takes
oh
you like
yeah,
5 minutes to recalibrate and be like, wait, what was I trying to do here?
yeah. Unfortunately, that happens to me a lot. So that there are trade offs with you can move faster if you just have everything in your head, but if you don't write it down and you have to revisit it, uh, that's kind of a pickle you get put in. Okay. Well, I'm just going to copy and paste this again, except, oh, actually, not this one. And reveal scores. I will copy and paste it, but instead, just divide by food bees vote. So these percentages shouldn't be visible on page load. So I'm going to go to the layout and just uncheck this. So by unchecking this, the elements will be hidden on page load. And once we decide to reveal the scores, um, we can animate them to show up. So I'll just have it like fade in. You can set a custom duration. I don't think we'll need to. But yeah. So the idea is we have this custom event because we want this to happen when you click on either food item. So because the same sort of action happens regardless of which one you click, we can just put that in a custom event. So when group food A is clicked, we'll just tell it to reveal the score. We don't have to remake this entire workflow of logic again for each group. So saves a little bit of time for you there.
Nice trick. I noticed we are probably like 7 minutes away from closing this out, like from being an hour. So I don't know if there's any priorities building wise that you want to get done.
Um, I think we're almost there. I mean, I think the last thing that we'll want to do is be able to pick. Oh, why didn't you show up? Is be able to pick another random group of would you rather's, but I think all that requires is just calling this again and then resetting all of our states, which hopefully I'll be able to get to finish in just a moment. And we'll also try and polish our design a little bit more as well. So I'll try and get this last bit of logic in.
You're on the clock now. I want to put pressure on you. Let's go. Let's go.
We're going. We are
We're
going.
We are going. Don't you worry. Ooh, look at that. Using the debugger. Nice.
So I'm trying to understand why my text isn't showing up right now. It's because the percentage is empty. Why is it empty? Oh, I'll change this to text D. Oh, and I should also do it for, no, that should be fine. What's going on here? Oh, completely forgot. I need to add one to the count. Food A votes +1. So the reason that nothing was showing up, the numbers were still at 0. So you tried to do a divide by 0. It just gives you like an error. So nothing was showing up. Completely forgot about that. And I will modify these real quickly. Run this again. Hopefully they will show up now. Neato. Okay. And I will put a tiny percentage sign in front. And then I will do some last minute styling.
It's kind of it's interesting that you run into a bug even not meaning to. Like bugs just happen.
Yeah.
They just happen.
Yeah, no one's perfect. If you had everything in your head, you have to be a robot or something.
You're Mozart.
Okay. So let's do some styling. I'm going to close some of these tabs. Give my computer some more RAM to work with. Okay. Let's round these out a little bit. And maybe give it a little shadow. I feel like when you give boxes a shadow, it makes it look super fancy. Okay, let's see how that looks. Ooh, not a fan of that shadow color. Let's improve the layout in just a second, and then I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah. I mean, this will be kind of the magic moment for you to kind of like the chefs when they're in a cooking show and then they open the oven and there's already one cooked already.
Yeah. Well, okay, let me apply this. Let me apply some margins at the edges. But Yeah, I think we got fairly close to what we had here. Um, albeit we didn't have enough time to style, uh, but yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed following along and listening. Hopefully there may be some knowledge nuggets that you got out of this. Um, feel free to go to this link and try out the completed version of this. Uh, there's an informational that explains kind of how to play if you aren't too familiar. You can add new foods. Uh, and this feature, which I wish we got to, which is using the API connector to actually find recipe links to the foods here. So
Nice. Yeah,
some
send
links
me
to
if you want to send me the version test of this on Slack. I can put it on the chat on
yeah,
YouTube.
sure.
Share with people. People want to play with this. I hope that your privacy rules are set.
Yeah. I gotta double check
Yeah.
that. Gotta double check
That
that,
was a
but
very sketchy yeah. Play with today's app. Okay, drop it in the chat. Yeah, there it is.
yeah,
Nice.
should be good to go.
Nice.
I don't think
Well,
I have anything.
I mean, for closing remarks, when let's say someone is watching this and they're thinking of tackling something like this, any kind of like one or two recommendations you would give someone that is just building an app similar to this? Like, how did you tackle this problem?
Um, I think for starters, you want to start your idea small of like write down in sort of like bullets like I have with this MVP. What minimum things do I want to do? Oh, one last demo. What what are the bottom line things that I want this app to do? Just like how I have them set up here. And I think with any sort of like development project, it's taking these big problems and breaking them down into smaller problems. So when I want to match up foods against each other, my smaller problems there are like, what are the data types involved? How do I want that to look? And you kind of just keep going down and down until you get to these small like bits that you can do, and then they kind of group back up together and form your project.
Okay, breaking it down, small pieces. Nice, nice. Well, with that, thank you so much, Lewis, for spending an hour with us on the community, building an app for us, and explaining your thought process throughout. It was pretty fun. I think it's very timely for tomorrow. Hopefully, some of the people in the chat will take this idea and maybe tomorrow present it to the family and the friends. Be like, hey, look at this thing I built last night. Pretty cool
Yeah.
idea. I wanted to so shout out to you, and also shout out to the team producing this, everybody helping us do the live stream today. Thank you, team. And I wanted to also invite everyone in the chat to follow us on socials, X, LinkedIn, all that good stuff at Bubble, to find out when we're going to host the next live stream. In fact, I can tell you that next week we're going to have an AMA with the co-founder Emmanuel. So if you're the kind of person that is itching to ask some hot questions to our co-founder, please come over and stop by and to our YouTube channel and watch us on live streaming with the co-founder Emmanuel. And we will see you all online. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and thank you again, Lewis.